and final edition of the Women's Hurling Podcast, brought to you once again by Bourke Sports, our very generous sponsors. You can visit their website, www.bourkesports.ie, or contact Norma Clancy, norma.clancy@bourkesports.ie. They've been very generous to us all year. And there's only one place to start. If you're watching on YouTube, thank you very much. Limerick are Ireland champions as of about 15 minutes ago. David Reedy is soaking all this in as motivation for the winter training that's to come, but it's okay, it doesn't matter. We will take the opportunity. Anthony Daly was talking about camogie on his podcast during the week, so I'm going to take 30 seconds just to say to the Limerick hurlers, so fucking proud of you, unbelievable. The whole county, very emotional, tough year. They've really lit it up for us. That's just class. So guys, top class, well done. But we get back on track and stick to what we know, and I suppose there's only one place to start. There's only one game to weekend. And we have new All-Ireland champions. Massive congratulations to Kilkenny, who won last night in Croke Park in the most unique of all All-Ireland camogie finals. And again, I suppose, like what we said to the Limerick players there, usually we start off the show saying, you know, this player played well or that player played well. But I suppose in the year that's gone, just thanks to every single county player who togged out, made the effort, managers, selectors, coaches, everyone that was involved, and gave us a season short in the winter. It was top class. Kilkenny, worthy champions. And I suppose we'll jump straight in. And Sarah, to be fair to you once again, you called it.
Mystic Meg. There you go. Now, I'll never put money on myself in any of these occasions, just to clarify. I have never won anything, ever.
Except the glory, Sarah.
I'm as useful as a chocolate teapot, okay? Imagine winning. Anyway, look. The only reason why I thought that Kilkenny were in with a shout was because Galway were so unsettled. And I genuinely thought that they had mixed it up too much this year during the championship and they didn't know their best 15. And that proved to be true yesterday.
Yeah, I suppose we may as well crack into the analysis. Davey, I suppose we spoke a lot about matchups in the lead up to the final and what were the key matchups and what were the critical matchups. Talk to us about the first half and how it played out and who was on who and who had a big influence.
Yeah, exactly. And I suppose we kind of tried to second guess a couple of them, but the idea behind our thinking was right, but probably not the player to go to midfield. Like our big one was midfield. Who was going to counteract the Galway midfield, because that's what we felt the strong point was. We said Davina might go out, but it was actually Grace Walsh. And by God, did she just light it up. Like she completely... Herself and Kellyanne Doyle in midfield was another late sub in. They just commanded that midfield area, commanded the transition from attack to defence and likewise defence to attack. And then we had Davina in the cornerback on Orla McGrath. I think you called that one, Fiona. And again, Davina did what Davina does, is just quieted it completely. Orla did get the goal, but it wasn't Davina's fault. Davina went out to collect the ball. And Siobhan McGrath just popped it in over her head. But we said the players that played well for Galway in the semi-final, Kilkenny counteracted to perfection. On the opposite side, I suppose, Teenie Cormacan, man marked Anne Dalton again. She was picked out that she had a great semi-final. And in fairness to Teenie Cormacan, she was probably one of Galway's best players. She just kept her quiet. I think out of all the possession that Kilkenny had, I think Anne Dalton only had 4 or 5 possessions in the whole game. And the other one was Shauna Healy. I just give a bit of a mention to her. She was on Denise Gall. Again, first half was outstanding. She just had one job and one job only, was do not let Denise get the ball. Second half changed completely. I don't know. I'd love to know if it was a management decision that she was, or was it just the way the game panned out, that Shauna Healy just played a bit more ball. She won the ball, and instead of just offloading it, she was attacking, and that let Denise Gall kind of float into positions that she knew that could hurt Galway. And when Kilkenny dispossessed the ball and counter-attacked, Denise was free, and Denise had a magnificent game in the second half.
No, it's a very interesting point. I think sometimes when you assign a player to that role, maybe you have to go here, listen, don't you worry one bit about hurling now today. You know, like it's you can nearly afford to do that on one player. Obviously, you can't do that on 2, 3, 4 players. But in the second half, she kind of went hurling. And I suppose, look, we spoke about We spoke about matchups before, and maybe Anne Dalton was quiet, she got 1 point. Marion Walsh is very quiet, and if you'd have said at the start of the game that Marion Walsh and Anne Dalton wouldn't have a huge influence for Kilkenny, you'd have said, geez, they've no chance of winning. And it turned out to be like the young players that really, really stepped up, the likes of Katie Nolan and the likes of Aoife Doyle, like, who were both absolutely outstanding. That really stepped up and came of age. So I suppose we don't want to go down the narrative here now of saying that Galway were poor or anything like that, because with 3 minutes to go, the game was still a draw. So, like, in the first half, everything was going well for Galway. I thought there was a crucial moment when Ailish O'Reilly played through the Kilkenny and Owen Elliott blew it back for a hand pass. Fiona, you were watching it at home. What did it look like on the television? It looked like a very harsh decision from sitting up in the stand and on the big screen.
Yeah, and from home as well, it looked very, very questionable. Like, it was a perfect. It was what looked like it was quick. Definitely a very quick hand pass, but the clear movement was there. Like, Ailish O'Reilly, she was under a bit of pressure, but she wasn't even under that much pressure at the time. It was to me, what seemed like a perfect hand pass. Niamh Kilkenny had gotten the perfect position. Like, as you said, that was a crucial point. It could have been a complete turning point in the game. Now, Kilkenny still managed to kind of stay in touch and at that point, like, because of that, but Galway could have pushed on, seriously from there. They would have went in, at halftime in a really, really solid position, like, and I just don't know. And as you said earlier, we were talking about that there's a very similar hand pass from Anna Farrell off to goal for coming up to when she won the penalty. Was it just the referee's positioning? Maybe he was in a very, I don't know. Like, if he was in a very clear position there, he wouldn't have called it. Like, because I thought it's from telly. You said in Croke Park, from all our angles anyway, it looked okay. Like, so. No,
it did, and I suppose, look, one of the notes I have here is that Owen Elliott refereed the game superbly. Like, we got the physicality, we got the contact, we got everything we wanted. But I suppose, like anything, like a big player, if you're a referee in a big game, you have to get the crucial decisions right, and it just felt that he got that one wrong. And
I think when a referee's blown for a throw ball, he has to be 100% right. He has to know 100%. If he's 60-40, 70-30, you can't afford to call it. You have to just let the game flow. And in fairness, he did let the game flow. But there was one other talking point. Well, it probably wasn't a talking point. It was after 4 minutes, and Niamh Hennessy, in my opinion, was very lucky not to get a red card. She had a very high tackle. Yeah. She was holding the hurley in a ready position nearly, and she went up on the neck of, I think it was Michelle Tehan on the sideline, if you can remember that.
David, did we not talk about this in Rogue? First 5 minutes of a championship match, you can do whatever you want. See, Declan Hannon today absolutely ploughed. Was a Jack Fagan coming through after 4 minutes. He was never getting a red card for that. There's no referee in the country going to draw the tour on themselves and sending someone off in the first 5 minutes. You can cut loose the first 5 minutes. Seriously, that should be part of your plan, like.
You must have taught Niamh Hennessy that in UL, Sully, did you?
Oh, she needed no teaching. Rein it in a bit. Yeah, no, look, it was a high challenge, I suppose. And I suppose we commented on it at the time watching it, but I'd still hate to see someone get sent off to think they missed an All-Ireland final because of that. In fairness to was it Michelle Tehan, just picked herself up and got on with it as well. Like, there was no rolling around or anything, like, so. More of that, really. Not less of it. Second half then, I suppose watching it there at half time, were you still confident that your prediction was going to come through at half time? Did you feel Kilkenny were in a strong position, or did you feel maybe they weren't motoring too well?
Like concern that Aoife Doyle had missed the goal chance, and I thought it might be crucial later on. And then I thought Galway haven't found their niche yet. They're due a purple patch. Are we going to suffer for this between 30 minutes and 40 minutes where they're going to come out refocused and go at Kilkenny? So yes, halftime, very nervous. Relieved that Kilkenny were as close, but as you said, Anne wasn't showing up as much as I wanted her to. And Miriam Walsh, actually, although you feel she didn't necessarily have a big impact on the game, I thought she kept Sarah Dervin so busy. Like, there was ball came over their heads together, and the two of them are so tall. Like, Sarah had to mangle her at one stage in the second half, and she won a great free off of it. Like, Sarah,
I agree with that, Sarah. She kept her busy and she kept her worried. You know, Sarah wasn't at her ease yesterday because of Miriam. So I think that's job done by Miriam.
Time for a stat here. Very much had 2 possessions in the game.
Doesn't matter.
But she still, like, I would say Sarah nearly got a nosebleed at one stage. I think Sarah was up.
I don't think Sarah and Irvin not driving forward had a huge impact on the game. Though.
I've never seen her run in a match that long. Do you know, I think it was, I think as Sarah said, I just think that Miriam did have an effect on the game. The possessions don't show it, but I agree that I think that she did a job on Irvin.
We'll agree to disagree on that one.
Absolutely. I'm bringing Miriam with me everywhere. Miriam can come on my bus. You can have somebody else on your bus.
But look, second half, just a complete sea change from Galway. And Davey, you were texting me there this morning. You were having a look at the old puck outs and stuff like that. Just the puck out stats, they were polar opposites. There was a complete shift in them in the second half.
Yeah, I suppose in the first half, Galway winning their fair share of their own puck outs. I think something like 9 or 10 of their own puck outs they won in the first half. But it was like a flip reversal in the second half. They just, no matter what they did, they couldn't win a puck out. They tried to bring people around the break of the ball, and it seemed like if Kilkenny had one player around it, Kilkenny were still coming out on top, getting the ball and popping it off and counter-attacking from there. Again, really impressive with the work rate around that break of ball, the way that the Kilkenny players had a responsibility of knowing if the ball goes in front, it's my wing forward was nearly coming back. If it's going to the side, my midfielder was there. They all had, I think they knew what they were doing better than Galway. Galway were kind of hopefully that we might win it, but Kilkenny were going to win it. And that was probably the difference in the puck out stats alone.
And I suppose in the semi-final, really, as maybe something that we kind of went under the radar a small bit because we focused on what Davina Tobin had achieved against Amy O'Connor. But Anna Farrell absolutely destroyed Aisling Thompson in the semi-final, and she gave a superb performance here as well. And I think it really gave Grace Walsh a platform to go and do what she did, which was pretty much dominate the game, really. And Sarah, you were having a look at that for us.
Huge area and very important area, and we didn't actually realise how important it was going to be. Denise Gall said in her post-match interview, God, I hope this game looked okay, because it felt like there were a lot of rocks, right? And I think that was crucial for Kilkenny, because in the previous games we saw Aoife Donoghue bursting up the field at every opportunity. She was winning a rock, she was coming through, and then all of the space was opening up for Galway. But because there were so many players crowding out the midfield for Kilkenny, she never got through. Niamh Kilkenny never got through, and all of a sudden that distribution that had been so crucial for Galway in the previous games wasn't apparent. That's why Galway forwards were so, I suppose, starved of ball and starved of opportunity, because those Kilkenny rucks really just shut down everything, didn't they?
And like, I suppose timing is everything, isn't it? You know, to win a championship sometimes you just need things to line up at the right time for you. And Kellyanne Doyle coming back to fitness in time to slot in wing back, which allowed Grace Walsh to move out midfield and do that. It's just, sometimes you need that. It was great. It was really good. I suppose another crucial moment that the referee had a hand in the second half, the penalty decision, Fiona, I suppose. First of all, what did it look like again at home? In the stadium, Kilkenny players didn't seem to be calling for a penalty. It was really hard to see. Obviously, Denise Gall went down. There was 2 Galway players around her. On the replay, what did it look like?
I would have said 100% penalty. Yeah, I really thought there was no question about it. The thing that annoyed me about it was that Owen Elliott just seemed to take a lifetime to blow the whistle. I don't know, was that delay on RTE or what was the story? But it was like, that has to be a penalty. And I was like, Jesus, he's leaving things go to a whole new level if he doesn't blow this. That's how much I thought it was. Definitely a penalty. She was, it was a professional foul by, I think Sarah Durban was holding her Hurley. There was another, I don't know who it was Hannah or what you call her, had a coming in from another angle, and there was someone else from another. They took her down. I think penalty. Yeah, I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah, and I suppose that means then, I suppose what we talk about, the second decision that had to be made then was 3 minutes to go in our Ireland final, and it's a level game and scores are hard to come by. Do you go for it?
That was where the delay was. Yeah, I do. And that's kind of annoying. It's either a penalty or it's not a penalty. And do you know what I mean? Don't be thinking, oh, there's only 3 minutes left to go here. Can I give this? What do they think? It's a penalty, you know?
Yeah. And then the decision to go for it or not was huge as well. I suppose, like, as you said there, like 3 minutes to go in our Ireland final. It's a draw game. Scores are hard to come by. Do you tap it over the bar and think, do you know what? We'll hold on here for the last couple of minutes, or do you go for it? And
He showed some balls to go for that. It was
it was absolutely superb. And I suppose, look, maybe sitting up in the stand, I was kind of going, geez, do you tap it over? But look, I suppose everything that Kilkenny have done in the semi-final and final have just had a stamp of confidence and bravery over it. You know, going even from their tactics in the semi-final against Cork to the way they just went for it in the second half against Galway. So I suppose she was always going to go for it, wasn't she? And ping is all you can say. Absolutely class.
I think Brian Dowling said it in his interview afterwards. I don't know if you saw it, that he said she'd been absolutely like that, pinging him in training for the last 2 weeks. So obviously it was something they worked on. So like the confidence to go for it that just didn't come like that. Had been worked on, and you know what a penalty. And yeah, it's just so, again, like bringing it back to just showcasing camogie on the biggest stage. Like it was just an unbelievable penalty. It wasn't a weak one. They didn't just tap it over the bar. It wasn't messed up by the keeper. It was absolutely, the keeper could have done nothing about it. It was unreal. Yeah,
and I think a crucial insight into Gaul's role in that team this year was her reaction to scoring the penalty. Was just, right, guys, everybody set up for the puck out, settle down. There was no histrionics, there was no fist pumping or anything like that. It was just bang and turn around and go. You know, and look, I suppose we got an insight into the Kilkenny camp during the week, and Dalton used the Roy Keane quote, you know, you don't pat the postman on the back for delivering the post. So I suppose that was just their attitude, wasn't it? Just go out and do it, and that's it. And it obviously paid off for them. And I suppose, like, you know, you'd be getting texts off people and stuff saying, geez, Galway were poor. But I don't like that narrative, really. Like, you know, with 3 minutes to go, the game was still a draw. So if you're going to say that Kilkenny were superb and the game was a draw, 3 minutes to go, you can't say Galway were poor. I think fundamentally there was a couple of things that went wrong for Galway, and they'll definitely look back and learn from it and drive on. But I think the narrative here has to be that.
On that point about them being poor, I just thought they were really isolated, and they weren't that cohesive team that we had seen in previous games, running off the shoulder, you know, being able to look up and actually give a heads-up hurling ball. At crucial stages in the first half, Sarah Dervin was completely on her own in 20, 30, 40 yards of space, and I was going, where's Heather Cooney? Where's Tara Kenny? Where's Emma Hillibert? Like, where's Siobhan Gardner? Like, I couldn't pick them out. Like in the obviously TV piece, and you're just looking at that square, and that's all you can see. Sarah was the only player in the picture, and I was going.
She showed her 21 at one stage as well. Like in that picture, it was mad.
Yeah, and there's a lot of similarities between the Galway camogie team and the Limerick hurling team. I think sometimes in the evolution of a team, you have to learn how to handle being the favourites. I suppose Galway had the advantage last year, maybe in the underdogs and stuff like that. And look, Limerick were the same last year against Kilkenny in the hurling semi-final. They got sucker punched by a team who were slightly more up for it than they were, and just couldn't claw it back. And I think that, like, the Galway team will learn an awful lot from last night. Like, they're a very young age profile, apart from one or two. I'm sure they'll find one or two coming through from minor, from intermediate and stuff. You'll see a couple of new players next year. So I think they'll be hurting today. Obviously, if they're listening to this, it's Monday. I'm sure they'll be hurting today and hurting for the week. But I suppose the new season's probably just around the corner, and they'll have a right long hard look at it and learn from it. And I think we'll talk about it later, what we think is going to happen in 2021. But I have a funny feeling we'll be back.
I just think on Sarah's point there that you said that you've seen Sarah Dervin free, and it was very hard to pick out the other players, and especially Siobhan McGrath. Like, the last couple of games, we knew that she was centre back and she was kind of nearly a rock. But the thing about Galway playing and man marking role on Anne Dalton was Teenie Cormacan, and when Anne Dalton went in centre forward, Teenie Cormacan went in centre back, and that either pushed Siobhan wing back, or she even went out to midfield at times. And then she went back centre back in the second half, and it just made it a bit more solid looking for the transition. And I just thought, with Siobhan kind of being pushed and dragged everywhere, it took that kind of solidity that we were used to seeing with Galway, and especially Galway's defence, away from them.
Yeah, no, definitely. Look, I think there's a couple of big things come out. I think, like, we were down in Kilkenny this morning. We had a bit of a socially distanced training session in Thomastown, I think the real narrative down there was that they were delighted that, I suppose, for the last number of years, it felt like there was no young players being given a chance in Kilkenny. And that the real satisfying thing last night was that it was the young players that stepped up and produced, your Kellyanne Doyles, your Aoife Doyles, Katie Nolan. So you probably have Kilkenny waking up this morning, maybe with sore heads, but full hearts, as they say, and thinking, geez, there's a real team coming here. And you've Galway waking up thinking, you know what, we'll learn from that, and we're taking that trophy back next year. And I think the wheels are probably already in motion, just given the time of the year and everything for next year already. So, you'd be whetting the appetite for next year already when they collide again. Like, I suppose they played in the last two finals, it's 1-1. So there's a real struggle for superiority going on here at the moment, and it's just brilliant for the game. And obviously that's not writing off Cork before anyone says anything. They'll be back as well. But player of the match, guys, we texted there in the group earlier on. We said, listen, give us your first choice and your second choice. So we'll do it diplomatically. We'll give 3 points for one and 1 point for two, and we'll see what we come up with. Davey, we'll start with you. Who were the two standout players for you in the game last night?
Yeah, both players from Kilkenny, and I'd say Grace Walsh, definitely my number one, because just the work rate she got through, and then the amount of ball she commanded, and I think she was the kind of catalyst to the Kilkenny's attack. And then my number two was Aoife Doyle. Again, 4 points from play, collected a lot of ball. She won frees. I suppose if the result came out differently, you'll be looking at her and saying that she had 2 goal chances that she definitely should have hit on target. But again, 4 points from play for an All-Ireland final, you can't complain with that, and she was my number two.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think we saw the first one. She kind of got her hands wrong, didn't she? Just by the time she shifted the ball out of her hands, she was striking under the ball instead of striking through the ball, and she skied it a little bit. But yeah, no, definitely 2 solid choices there. Sarah, what do you think?
I'm going with Dave on the first one. Grace Walsh was my number one, and then Denise was my number two. There was 2 frees there in the second half, early in the second half, absolute monster frees that she landed, and the penalty. They wouldn't have been as assured if she wasn't actually keeping the scoreboard ticking over. So Denise is number 2 for me, but Grace is number 1.
Fiona?
Sure. You could pick any of the 3 of them. I'm going to say Denise anyway. I do think without the penalty and the assuredness under freeze, coming out with 1-6 there is some play out of her. And then I probably would go with Aoife Doyle. Grace was amazing as well, like 6 of one, half of a dozen of the other, like they're unreal. Katie Nolan as well. Sorry, I'm picking like 4 now.
You were told this morning, Fiona, pick
Sorry.
2. Yeah, this isn't. We haven't sprung this on you. Believe it or not, people watching this, we do script it a small bit. So she's not thinking on the fly here at all.
Once you actually had a proper plan for this one, so like I couldn't even do it. No, I'll say so, Denise, and I'm going to go Katie Nolan, because then they all get a mention. Katie was brilliant. Actually,
she was brilliant.
There, tough out, and just really, really, the hunger was unreal and very evident in her.
A unique stat is Katie Nolan actually became, I'm pretty sure, the first Kilkenny player ever to win a minor, intermediate, and senior All-Ireland medal on the field of play. She was centre back for the minors in 2015, centre back for the intermediates in 2016, and corner forward for the seniors, which did not see coming in 2016. She was exceptional for us in 2016. I think she was the soaring star that year, and unbelievable. I'm just surprised it took Kilkenny 4 years to get her onto the senior team. Even more surprised, no offence, Katie, you won't take any offence, that she rocked on the corner forward. But yeah, absolutely superb. So there'll be big celebrations up in Muckalee over the weekend.
Late on that she had in the last puck of the game, and she's full stretch, like James Delaney, like literally out and a reach to block it down. It was incredible. So
yeah, and her physicality, her fitness and everything, she brings a huge intensity to that team. I think she's a real Tommy Shefflin kind of player, to be honest with you. So that leaves us with Grace Walsh as our women's hurling player of the match for the All-Ireland final in 2020. So if you forward us €100, Grace, we'll send you a prize. Or someone wants to sponsor no trophy for Grace there, we'll fire it onto her.
I actually have one. I just have one further point, which is a bug.
I thought you were going to say you have an old spare man of the match trophy flying around there that you can have.
Yeah, I do. There's one at home. My mother's horrified by it. It's too big and there's nowhere for it to go. And
where'd you put the man of the match
trophies? In the wardrobe.
Yeah, same problem.
Yeah. You put it in the walk-in wardrobe. I'm not joking. She wouldn't even put it up anywhere. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah. So I was going to say, and this is my bugbear, Bourke Sports, there's an opportunity to design a thermal long sleeve jersey for keepers that allows them to not wear the stupid jumper in goal in an All-Ireland final. I cannot abide by
Hold on a second here. We'd just like to apologise to O'Neill's. O'Neill's make the Galway jerseys, not Bourke Sports.
No, I said there's an opportunity for Bourke Sports to make a thermal long sleeve jersey because I cannot abide
Hold on. I just have Nicky Quaid on the phone there. Nicky, did we wearing the jumper make any difference earlier on? No, it was class. We're going to dismiss that comment out of hand.
It looks desperate altogether. It does. It looks cat. It looked cat last night. It looked cat today.
Yeah, okay. Anyways, back on track. Okay, so look, we usually talk about the All-Stars at this point, but we obviously have a Bourke Sports All-Stars team that we're going to announce in the new year, the first week of January. I suppose in the last couple of weeks, there's a few Kilkenny players who've definitely come into the picture, so we'll have a separate show for that in January. We'll get the prizes out to the players and stuff like that. I suppose very quickly before we move on to a quick review of the year, I suppose where does this leave both teams? Obviously, we touched briefly on it there that Kilkenny have a lot of youth coming through. It's Brian Dowling's first year management as well, and first year with his management team around him. So they're obviously going to fancy their chances of knocking off a couple over the next couple of years as well. Like we said there, Galway was probably the first year that they had to deal with, I suppose, being the champions with the targets on the back. So I'm sure there's learning from that for them as well. What do you think? Both teams are probably going to be in whatever order, number 1 and 2 for the championship next year when we start again. You're all just nodding along, right?
Dave, you can go first.
You'd imagine so. Yeah, Kilkenny definitely have to be number 1 going into 2021 and Galway number 2.
All right, Davey. 2 weeks ago.
Yeah. Yeah, but haven't they proved it, especially in their last 2 games? They made me eat my words completely.
Yeah. I think you've gotten more mentions on KCLR over the past fortnight than you had when you played in the National League last year.
I had 4 points that day as well, though.
Oh, here we go. Sarah doesn't know where to put her man of the match tomorrow. Is really sitting 4 points. I know you're too modest to mention that you captained Limerick in 2014 to win the All-Ireland. So we leave that there. Is that the trophy there in the background? Is it? Or what's that?
I haven't moved them back yet, no.
Right, guys. So, the year in review 2020. Okay. I gave you a few titles to have a look at. I suppose for ourselves, Davey, we set up women's hurling from scratch at the start of the year. Took a bit of a gamble on it. And I suppose our goals were to give the players a higher profile. I suppose we wanted to kind of get more tactical discussion into camogie as opposed to the kind of the lovely girls previews that used to be out there. And make predictions the norm in camogie. And I know you used to get a few texts off the Dublin girls there, Sarah, and I hear from the Clare girls, you wrote us off. So that's great. So the fact that somebody's actually writing someone off in camogie is exactly where we want to be honest with you. So look, I think we did that, Davey. So look, we'll have to have a look at what we can do for next year, see if we can improve it. I think my presenting days are over. I don't think you can be on the sideline and present. So Sarah, you might step in there. We'll see. Who knows? We might have an old reshuffle. We'll see.
Where are you going? Where are you going?
We'll see what the story is.
Stop alluding to things and just tell the people.
Well, look, I already have the jersey on, so there's the clue.
Limerick hurlers. Oh my God. That's impressive.
Right. I gave you a few headings, okay? I suppose we'll start off. Fiona, I'll go with you. What was your game of the year?
I am going to say the All-Ireland final because I just thought it was such a fantastic display. I always get a bit nervous when these big games are on RTE. There's so much gone into the production, the management, getting Croke Park, the biggest stadium. You always feel like, I think the Club All-Ireland final sometimes can be a bit of a letdown. For the last 2 years, these have been unbelievable battles. Owen Elliott let the game flow. There were some ridiculous scores that you would have seen on the pitch today in Croke Park. You know, Aoife Doyle's first score, Siobhan McGrath's score, points, throwing them over for fun. I just thought yesterday's game was absolutely it was a cracker. It was everything we thought it would be, not a letdown. So that's my game of the year.
Very hard to argue with that. And we were just saying, Davey, I suppose they played the national anthem last night, the lights on in Croke Park, the bloody Sunday banners up, and there was nobody there. And it just, I'm not sure what you even said to me. It was very hard to hear. That felt a bit different. it just hit a bit different last night. It was a real cracking occasion. I suppose, Sarah, I'll go to you.
I did Kilkenny v Cork. I just thought that both teams knew what they were about, and as a result, we got a game where it was in it till until the final whistle. We didn't know where it was going to go, and Kilkenny coming out on top was a real statement of intent. And the devastation that Cork showed, obviously, showed how much it meant to them and how much preparation they had put into it. So that's where I think kind of a key swing happened. It's like an election, Kilkenny showed that they were very much on course then.
Yeah, apart from the first 15 minutes. After that, there was very much a swing state in the camogie championship then after that, Sarah. You're dead right. We'll use that one. We'll use that one again. Davey, what about you? How was your game of the year?
Yeah, similar to Sarah. Now I have Kilkenny and Cork. Again, that was the kind of time I realised I was completely wrong right now. But it was just
Garsting here to Kilkenny, man.
You must be getting a transfer. You must be looking for a transfer down to James Stevens or something. Oh, that's good.
But it's just, I suppose I was so impressed with the character that day. Like, as you said, they were 1-3 down. They had 4 or 5 probably very bad wides, and the character, and you can use all these cliche words to describe, but the belief they had in their individual players, that the management had in the individual players to go out, win their own battles, and then collectively as a unit come out on top in the game, and it was really impressive. So that game was probably game of the year for me.
Deadly. I'm going to go with one I thought you might go with, Sarah. With me, I thought just the junior final, Cavan Armagh, was just absolutely superb. It was the most entertained I've been at a game this year. Just thought it was absolute cracker. Both teams went at it. Just watching Jimmy Greville on the sideline, the Donnellys, just, I suppose when we saw players you hadn't seen before playing to that standard, I'm going to give them my vote. So yeah, look, all great choices there. The feel-good story of the year, I may as well start with it. Seems to touch it. I thought Cavan was a really great story this year, where they've come from. I suppose they're the template now for developing camogie in counties where it isn't strong, and they've done really well. And obviously to compete in 2 All-Ireland finals in the same year is unique. It probably won't happen again now with the new structures and stuff like that. So for me, definitely Cavan. What about you, Davey?
Yeah. How did you guess? No, the feel-good story for me was actually a player, and Kellyanne Doyle. I just thought, again, coming back from a crucial injury that happened in March, I think, and to only come on in the semi-final and get your 10 minutes, 15 minutes maybe, have 2 weeks preparation for an All-Ireland final, go out and give the display that she did with the work rate, the running, the athleticism, 8.5, 9 months after a crucial injury was kind of mind-blowing. And the dedication and the rehab that must have went into that by herself, obviously, during COVID and everything, must have been just out of this world.
And a big shout out to, I think Buddy Chandler there is their physio, and I know the work he puts in with them players individually is absolutely phenomenal. And they go down to my buddy David Roach there in the recovery centre in Kilkenny and stuff like that. They're always in there. Nice little plug for you there, Davey. Certainly out sound. But yeah, no, top class. I think what you're actually taking from that as well, Davey, is that obviously with Aoife Doyle flying and Kellyanne Doyle back, Piltown are straight in #1 favourites for the Kilkenny Championship next year, I think. So look, we'll see if they can handle the favourites tag there. I think so. Really, they'll be #1. What about you, Sarah?
I went with Cavan as well.
Cavan.
I was in the Boar's Head last night, right? There was a lad named Shane.
Sarah, you were there this afternoon as well.
I was. No, that was the Boar's Head. No, I was in the Boar's Head last night. But there was a lad named Seamus there, and he was a mad Cavan lad, and he was saying, Jesus Christ, Cavan can get goals, Jesus. And what does that say about sport in 2020, that a lad from Cavan is talking about camogie in Cavan and how they can get goals? And I just love that. Saturday night chat in the Boar's Head. Done.
Brilliant. Yeah, you gotta love that. That's brilliant. Absolutely brilliant. What about you, Fiona?
Yeah, I think just improved nature of, like Sarah said, people talking about camogie, the streaming that went on this year. Like, I think it's like COVID triumphs. You know, we had 2 or 3 players back, we had 2 back from cruciates. We had players who couldn't go to Australia. I think you were saying Megan Farrell couldn't go to Australia, so she got to win an All-Ireland this year. And we had so much more viewership of camogie this year with the streaming, RTE showing semi-finals, finals, RTE showing the junior final. It was a really, really good year for camogie from just viewership figures, I think. So thank you, COVID, I suppose, and well done to all the people who got all the streaming done so professionally. It was great.
Definitely, 100%. We'll start with you for this one, so Fiona, seems we're here. Well, best individual performance in the game.
Oh, this is going to be very random, but I think you might agree with me. Kind of Aisling Maloney's 40 minutes. She got to play for Tip. It was absolutely sensational. We got to see 40 minutes of the girl all year, and I obviously can't wait to see her play next year. I just thought different gravy, and roll on 2021. Hope she comes home from. Is she gone to Australia or not? I'm not sure.
No, I don't think so. No,
Ashley's not.
She's focusing on her camogie, so thank God. Great.
What about you, Sarah?
Davina Tobin v Amy O'Connor. Masterclass. And
clinical.
Just how good Amy was in the previous games and what she was offering and the way she was even popping up at the end of games. Davina never ever wavered the whole game. She gave her nothing, not a sniff.
Davey?
Yeah, again, I kind of hate to say it, but like I was looking at the defensive side of the games, and I had Shauna Healy on Caught Van, and I had Davina and Amy O'Connor. Two magnificent, like we seen that in the quarterfinals, two magnificent performance on two highly rated forwards, and just sniffed both of them out completely.
Yeah, no, top class. I think our two all-star cornerbacks, I would say, without jumping ahead, without spoiler alert for Jenny. For me, it's probably a bit of a random one as well, but my favourite performance of the year was definitely Niamh Tracy for Tipperary against Waterford. It was just like she was just playing the game on her own, and everybody else just happened to be on the field. It was just one of those performances. Probably led to her own downfall, really, because it looked like Galway targeted her the next day. But look, that's what happens. Welcome to the big time. But yeah, look, class, really, really good. Now, interesting one. Goal of the year. We'll start with you, Davey.
Goal of the year, yeah. I was trying to think back, and I was trying to remember. I was going through all the goals that I can remember, but the Waterford goal against Limerick, Niamh Rocket's goal, she collected the ball in 21, took a massive hit, and while striking it then, when she was just at the 14, took another hit and buried the ball at the same time. A magnificent goal, and again, it'd be hard bet.
Yeah, that's the one I had written down as well, and I also put down in brackets beside it Maeve Kelly Antrim, which is very similar. Took the clip and bang as well. I know you love those, Fiona, taking the hit. They're the ones we love to see.
Try not to concede the goal as well, but anyway.
Rocket's goal was class because she got hit, and I'm pretty sure got hit, as you say, when she was striking as well, so it was deadly. What about you, Fiona? Goal of the year?
I knew Davey was going to pick that one because he's like a Niamh Rocket super fan. So I went for Aoife Doyle's lob goal.
It's Westmeath.
I think it was the first time I realised that she was big news. I'd never really heard of her, and she was class that day, and that lob goal was unbelievable. So I went to that one, yeah.
Very good. Sarah?
Niamh Rocket's late goal against Westmeath, where she caught the ball out of the sky with somebody hanging off her shoulder and over her arm and managed to send a rocket to the net. It was better than the one that she picked. It was better. But I love lads catching ball out of the sky. So that
anyway, you don't even need to comment, Davey. We'll just splice in you're wrong, Sarah. In there. So you don't even need to say it. We let it in there. It's fine.
Okay, how about we have a vote, and if you do set up a clip, my clip and your clip, and then we get the people to vote which goal.
Sarah, do you think we can afford to buy real clips and matches off of anybody? The way we phrase it, Dave O'Shea and Intray, if you have the clips of the matches and you're willing to share them with us, we will certainly have a vote on goal of the season. Absolutely no problem whatsoever. Right. One little negative one, I suppose. Low point of the year. I'm going to start. I just think awfully not fielding in the championship, even given the year that was in it with COVID and everything. I just thought I was poor, to be honest. Just the way they went about it, the short notice and everything, I just think, we've surely moved on from that. We've surely moved on from that in camogie. Obviously, I suppose at a local level, it was very disappointing what went on in Limerick, but that has been balanced out by the ray of hope we have now with the new board and the new plans and the new communication and Grace on the radio and everything like that as well. So, they were probably the two low points for me. But there wasn't too many, which I suppose is good. What about you, Davey?
Yeah, again, I'm jumping on that one as well. I think the Offaly Camogie as a whole in this whole year, the fact that they pulled out with COVID, again, the circumstances around it, as you mentioned, but then also the kind of demolishing that they got against Galway, and they only managed to get 3 points on the scoreboard. Again, very disappointing as a whole, and probably need to have a serious look at themselves on how to go forward from here.
Fiona?
I'm going to go with the Limerick situation as well, and I'm going to pick it like it was a low point, but as you said, there is a ray of light coming from it, like, and also just to commend the girls who did don the green and white this year. You know, they put in some unbelievable performances. You know, it was so disappointing to lose to Westmeath, but like, you know, they put in some really good performances. You know, 2 good solid performances after that. You know, it was tough going to come out there every week, so it was a low point, but you know, there were some positives to it. So roll on 2021.
So somewhere on my Adele playlist, I think she says it's always darkest before the dawn. I think.
There you go. That's beautiful, Sonny. Yeah.
Sarah, what about you? Where do I start?
I got dragged into a couple of debates, and I think the toughest one for me was the dual player accommodation, or the facilitation of the dual player, and how both associations allowed it to drag on for 10 months. And then we had a situation where neither of the Ladies Football Association or the Camogie Association were available for comment. And you had a Dublin Camogie player and Coola as a club having to put themselves on the line to RTE to actually give some comment, because nobody was willing to speak about something that was such a big deal. So communication is key, guys. We got to keep
Communication
talking,
is key, and obviously, look, it's not our baby, but obviously what happened to Galway ladies footballers last week wasn't ideal as well, and the whole dual player and women's sport and all that. We still have a bit to go, don't we, before we have it at a level that's acceptable for what, I suppose, that matches what the players are putting in on the other side of it, I suppose.
Of course it is, but crucially, if you're in Croke Park and you're working, answer the phone, lad. You know, people are looking for you. Answer the phone.
It's easier said than done. If there's anyone from my work here, I always answer the phone.
Always. One other point there, Sully, just an important one. It was actually Florence in the machine. He said it's always darkest before the dawn.
You Google that there, Fiona, because you were nodding along in agreement there a minute ago.
I'm 100% sure I'm wrong there.
This small bit of a private in-joke, but Mick will all know what we're laughing at here with those stats. But anyways, Davey liked that one. Okay, we'll go. I asked you for your one. Mick Wall rang us last night on the way home from Croke Park. And he had a stat that the last 7 or 8 All-Ireland winners in a row have all won playing into Hill 16 in the second half. And he literally went through them and he went 2030, 2040, 2050. Wow, this is class. What a stat this is. And then he went 2018, like, no. Eilish O'Reilly got 2 goals into the Hill 16 into the first half, Nick. And he was about 40 minutes into the stat. But it was class though, still good. We probably should have used it. We might edit that out and just leave in the stat. It was good. Okay, so what was your personal highlight of the year, Fiona, for you?
From a personal level, I think just getting down to see the double header in Páirc Uí Chaoimh that day was unreal. Like, Páirc Uí Chaoimh, you know, probably second best stadium in the country to be hosting, you know, any match, and to get camogie in there, it was so well run, it was so safe down there, and you know, the Camogie Association did very, very well to ensure that teams got that, not only once but twice this year. So I think it was such an enjoyable day, just so nice to see a live match. So that was a good day.
Yeah, it was class. It was some spot for a game. What about you, Sarah?
Co-com with Marty Morrissey.
Yeah. Mic drop. Thanks very much for watching, everyone. We're done. Brilliant. Yeah, Asher, look, how'd you top that? Class. Davey, what about you? Seems you're new to camogie this year.
My highlight was how wrong I was with Kilkenny.
Oh my God! Get over it.
Yeah, just their performances from when I wrote them off. I think they had a picture of me posted in the dressing room. But that's a lot of our highlights. Yeah, I think for me, funnily enough, it was the club championship actually.
Just because I suppose we've been so vocal before it about how county should definitely go first. And, you know, that they were missing an opportunity of not putting it out there in the window when the inter-county hurling wasn't on. But then being involved with a club team and seeing the way communities came together, people who weren't away on J1s, middle of the summer, sun shining, no county players being dragged left and right. And I thoroughly enjoyed it. I've never enjoyed something as much. I just thought it was class, absolutely class. So look, we're often critical of the Camogie Association, but I think letting the club championship this year of all years go ahead during the summer in the good weather was just bang. I really thoroughly enjoyed it. That and nailing Tommy Shefflin 7 minutes into injury time in the semi-final of the Ashburn. I have to bring him down a peg or two. Like, so he's the Club Ireland and the Camogie Ireland this year, Tommy. I know you listen. We can't let you have everything. Right, last one. I've asked you to pick your Camogie personality of the year, and I suppose we're kind of gone down the BBC route there. You know, it could be a player, manager, referee. It's unlikely, but anyone you want. For you, when you think back to 2020 in Camogie, who has it been about? We'll start with you, David. And you can't say yourself and Kilkenny. Come on, move on now. Move on.
I was actually having a long, hard think about this, and
I don't believe that for 1 second.
And you mightn't agree with me, but like you might think this is completely off the walls. But Paddy Murray, Cork fan. Okay,
it's obviously his first year in Camogie.
I hope you're not working tomorrow, because you're going to be fair busy on the editing machine tomorrow.
But on a serious note, whatever happened in the game, he had a different opinion to what the majority of us had. Was it whether he was definitely wrong, like, but but that just I just had to laugh and had a good smile every time he came into the media, that because his opinion was just completely different.
Yeah, there's a bit of an Alex Ferguson about it, isn't it? Like, it was like just defended the players at all costs and kind of fuck everyone else. Like, you know, we're Cork, and you know, whatever else anyone thinks doesn't really matter. Yeah, no, look, I can kind of see where you're going with it.
Lots of personality.
No, Sarah.
Was it Marie Crowe who interviewed him before the
yeah. Will we see Gemma?
We might.
Will
she start? She will.
She will.
I was like, oh my God, he actually told the truth for once. It was real.
Yeah, no, in fairness, like, I love Paddy. Like, he's some record. He's some man. He just does not care what anyone thinks. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. Sarah, we'll go to you.
So, start of the pandemic, we had a nurse in the front line chatting about, you know, being involved in the front line, trying to get back for training. She then had a close contact with COVID and was back in the headlines in October. She managed to escape COVID, still got to train. She then came back from her 2 weeks isolation and found out she wasn't being paid by the government. So she sent out a tweet and rallied the troops, and she had over 1,500 likes of her tweet calling out the government for not being paid during COVID. And then she ends up giving her man of the match display, or woman of the match display last night, from the women's hurling point of view, Grace Walsh. Yeah, all through the pandemic, she has been front and centre as a nurse, and then steps up again last night.
Beautifully described, or as Marty Morrissey calls her, Shane Walsh's sister.
I wouldn't have let him away with that. No.
Scandalous. But yeah, that's absolutely superb. Top class. That's real leadership in the community, on the field, everything. Unbelievable. Top class. Fiona, what about you?
Like, how do you even top that? Well done, Sarah. I'm going to say I'm
You're showing us up.
I should have built it up a bit more like Sarah did there, but I'm just going to say Anne Dalton. I thought she was just like, she came back after so many years of heartbreak there. She is such a stalwart for Kilkenny Camogie. She easily could have just said, you know, she's twins and a 3-year-old at home. She could have said, COVID, everything this year, I'm just going to leave it. Like, but she came back for more. She wanted that All-Ireland, and like, 6 All-Stars later, you know, she got it, and I'm delighted for her. And I just think, like, I do think that without her this year, I'm not sure they would be where they are. I don't think they'd be All-Ireland champions today. She had some phenomenal performances during the year. She was quiet yesterday, but you know, her being quiet allowed the younger players to step up. So unbelievable. Hats off to N.
Top class. And look, for me, I think obviously, look, Kilkenny had been written off an awful lot. So I spent a lot of time down there during the summer. I don't think anyone around the county was giving them too much of a chance, even probably right up to the throw-in, maybe even half-time yesterday. But there's a complete change in the way that Kilkenny team play, and like obviously Brian took over as manager from Anne and has done an incredible job. But for me, that Kilkenny team yesterday had just had Tommy Shefflin written all over them. They were dogged, they were hungry, they were fit, they played to a superb game plan. And look, any man who manages to win a Club All-Ireland and a Club All-Ireland with Ballyhale and the senior camogie championship with Kilkenny in the 1 year, I would say, look, for me, I think Tommy, fair play to you. We've had plenty of interesting words on sidelines over the years, but hats off. 2020 is definitely all about you, and for me, definitely Tommy, Camogie personality of the year from my point of view anyway. So well done to them and all, to Tommy and all their management. Right, last one, and I'm going to go just single word answers here. No explaining anything, no messing. Right, 2021 Ireland Senior Camogie champions. Davy.
Kenny.
Sarah.
Galway.
Fiona.
Kilkenny.
I'm going to go with Galway. Okay, we have 2 and 2. 2 and 2. Interesting. For the record, Sarah, I know you'd asked me about the envelope. It was Galway I had backed all along, to be honest with you. From a long way out, but it just wasn't to be. It still looked okay at half time, but we just didn't quite get over the line in the end. So that's it. But guys, listen, thanks very much. And I suppose thanks to you, Sarah and Fiona, for doing this for us, because despite what people think, we haven't paid for your new house here with this women's hurling work. And we haven't even managed to put a shelf in Sarah's house to put her Man of the Match awards up on. So you can guess what the lads were being paid to do this.
I can't afford to turn on my Christmas lights.
Can't even afford to turn on these.
It looks like a miserable tree.
Set up a GoFundMe for Davy.
Yeah, so Norma, if you're listening to this in Bourke Sports, we'll be back to there next week to renegotiate the sponsorship deal for there. Sarah O'Donovan needs a shelf, and Davey needs to be able to turn on his Christmas lights. Fiona, you look like you have your lights on, you have your house built. But no, listen, guys, thanks very much, because look, you do it purely for the love of it, and it's great, and it's made the whole thing, so fair play. And that's it for the year. We'll be back in January with the All-Star show, which I'm sure will be very controversial. But it's been a great year. Congratulations again to Kilkenny, the champions, Dowling, the intermediate champions, Armagh, the junior champions in Cavan, and Nancy Murray. Savage year. If you're watching on YouTube, hit like and subscribe, and we'll see you again. Thanks very much. On Limerick. Woo!